You know what's strange? Some of the most observant, deeply connected people you'll ever meet didn't develop those abilities through books, prestigious classrooms, or years of quiet meditation. They developed them because, at some point in their lives, they had to. Their nervous system was trained, not by choice, but by circumstances that required them to read rooms like a topographical map, predict shifts in a parent's mood before a word was spoken, and think several steps ahead just to maintain a sense of safety. In the world of neurodiversity, we often label this Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria, or RSD. We treat it as a disorder, a hurdle, or a glitch in the ADHD brain. But if we peel back the curtain of shame, we see something much more profound. We see a brain that is processing social data at a frequency most people simply cannot hear. It is a form of high-definition sensitivity. If you've always been told you're too much, too intense, or too sensitive, this is for you. We are going to explore why your heart breaks so easily, why your brain treats a critique like a physical wound, and the 10 signs that your sensitivity is actually a rare, highly tuned intelligence. The pre-conversational read. You walk into a workspace or a dinner party, and before anyone has even looked up, you know exactly what the vibe is. You pick up on the static in the air, the unspoken tension between two colleagues, or the forced smile on a friend's face. This isn't intuition in a mystical sense. It is high-speed, unconscious pattern recognition. Your brain is scanning for micro-expressions that last less than a second. While others are listening to the words being said, you are reading the data underneath the words. For you, silence is never actually quiet. It's full of information. The physicality of social pain. When a friend doesn't text back for hours, or a partner uses a slightly shorter tone than usual, it doesn't just bother you. It feels like a physical blow to the solar plexus. This is because your brain uses the same neural machinery to process social rejection as it does to process physical injury. Research led by Dr. Naomi Eisenberger has shown that in sensitive brains, social exclusion lights up the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain that registers the agony of a burn or a cut. To you, a snub isn't a metaphor. It is a literal, physiological wound. The people-pleasing shield. Because the pain of rejection is so visceral, your brain has developed a sophisticated defense mechanism, the mask. You have become a world-class diplomat, molding your personality, your humor, and even your tone of voice to be as inoffensive and helpful as possible. You find yourself saying sorry for things that aren't your fault. You overachieve to stay above reproach. This isn't because you lack a backbone. It's because your brain is trying to preemptively fix a rejection that hasn't even happened yet. You are living in a state of perpetual apology, trying to keep the world around you safe so you don't have to feel that burn. The Flashflood response. Unlike standard anxiety or depression, which can feel like a low-grade simmer, your sensitivity is a flash flood. It is triggered by a specific event and peaks almost instantly. This is the dopamine story. In the neurodivergent brain, the dialogue between the amygdala, the alarm center, and the prefrontal cortex, the logical CEO, is often delayed. When a perceived slight enters your system, the amygdala takes over the intercom and screams at full volume. By the time your CEO shows up to say, "Hey, they're probably just busy," the flood has already washed away your peace of mind. The globalizing internal critic. If you make one small mistake, a typo in an email or a minor social awkwardness, your brain doesn't see a moment, it sees a verdict. You don't just think, "I messed up," you think, "I am a mess up." Cognitive psychologists call this overgeneralization. In the heat of an RSD spiral, you rewrite your entire history. You convince yourself that you have always been disliked, that your friends are only tolerating you, and that it's only a matter of time before everyone leaves. You forget years of evidence of being loved in 10 seconds of panic. Exceptional crisis calm. Here is the paradox. While a small social slight can crush you, you are often the most effective person in the room during a genuine emergency. Because you live in a state of high emotional alertness, your nervous system is essentially stress inoculated. When the world actually falls apart, a medical emergency, a major project failure, a sudden move, you don't freeze, you adapt. You go into a calm, strategic operator mode. While others are panicking, you finally feel like the external world matches the intensity of your internal world. Hyper-empathy and emotional absorption. You don't just understand how people feel, you absorb it. If a coworker is stressed, you start to feel tight in your chest. If a movie character is embarrassed, you feel secondhand cringe so strongly you have to look away from the screen. This is the dual edge of your sensitivity. Your brain is wired with an unusually high density of mirror neurons. While this makes the world feel loud and overwhelming, it also makes you a master of connection. You sense the shift in someone's energy before they've even processed it themselves. You are the one people come to when they need to be truly seen. The need for sensory and social detox. Because you are constantly downloading massive amounts of emotional data from everyone around you, you hit a bandwidth limit. You might find that after a day of being on, you need to retreat into a dark room, put on noise-canceling headphones, and speak to no one. This isn't introversion in the traditional sense. It is a necessary cooling period for your hardware. You aren't being antisocial. You are literally letting your nervous system de-escalate from the intensity of the world. The compulsive student of human nature. You spend an unusual amount of time analyzing human behavior. You replay conversations in your head, not just out of perfectionism, but as a way to solve the puzzle of social dynamics. You've likely become a self-taught psychologist, watching documentaries, reading articles, and observing people's body language with a clinical eye. You became a student of human nature because, for a long time, understanding people felt like a prerequisite for your own well-being. This has left you with an encyclopedic knowledge of why people do what they do. The loyalty of the guarded. Your threshold for trust is simply higher than the average person's. You've learned that not every safe signal is genuine, so you've built high walls and complex filters. But once someone earns their way past those filters, once they prove they can handle your intensity without flinching, your loyalty is unwavering. You don't form shallow connections. Your relationships are built on the bedrock of genuine hard-earned safety. You are an all-or-nothing friend, and for those in your inner circle, that intensity is the greatest gift they've ever received. If you recognize yourself in these 10 signs, I want you to consider a new narrative. For years, the world, and perhaps even your own inner voice, has told you that you are broken or too much. But look at the evidence, the perceptiveness, the hyper-empathy, the crisis calm, the deep analytical mind. These are not the hallmarks of a weak person. They are the hallmarks of a brain that has adapted to feel the world in high definition. You developed this intelligence because your environment demanded it. And while that journey may have been born in a place of survival, it has left you with a capacity for connection and insight that is incredibly rare. You aren't too sensitive. You are simply tuned to a frequency that most people haven't learned to listen to yet. Self-awareness isn't a label of brokenness, it's a map. Now that you know the terrain of your mind, you can stop blaming yourself for the storms. You'll still feel the rain, but you finally know how to carry an umbrella. I want to hear your story in the comments. Which of these signs felt like a mirror to your own life? Sharing your experience doesn't just help you, it helps the next person who watches this video feel a little less alone. If you're ready to stop fighting your brain and start working with it, hit that subscribe button. We're building a place where being too much is exactly enough. I'll see you in the next one.